Hi, Adele. Oh, I think you might be muted.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
How are you, love?
Good, good. I'm so looking forward to round two for everyone joining in. I'm so honored to be presenting our wonderful, infamous guest expert, Adele Tevlin. If you guys were here for last month, she gave a really nice overview of CBT and jumped right in. And I know that it was such a powerful session. We got loads of emails. People are really interested in your work. And we did this initiative sponsored by Meal Garden because we kept hearing about how practitioners really want something to help them improve themselves, but also behavioral change for their clients. And CBT, along with the modalities that you're an expert in, Adele, is just so complementary to that and so powerful. So looking forward to passing it on, and thanks again for doing this.
Yeah, perfect. So a couple things. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, and we had a great masterclass this morning. I think some of the ladies in your community are on this call again, so they're getting a double dose of me. And so, you know, I don't actually come into this formally scripted because that's not, I find the way that this works the best. So what I actually think would be really powerful is for either you, Kiki, to ask, maybe have people pop questions into the thing, or you kind of to ask kind of from your perspective, based on what we learned last time, you know, what is it that you would like to learn more about? Because that would actually have me share, I think, more in a free flow, which is where I do my best work.
Perfect. So I'll go ahead and get started. For attendees that are here live, feel free to pop questions into the chat. I think for speaking on behalf of everyone that's fairly new to this work, that's still kind of, you know, we're getting a grasp on what our limiting beliefs might be. And that can sometimes feel like almost a little bit depressing, because it's like, oh, okay, like now I'm starting to unpack some of my issues. What's the first step after that?
Yeah.
You know what, because I don't want us all to get stuck in like, oh my god, okay, like I have all these issues.
This is how this works so much better, because I could just go off the thing or speak directly to the community, right? So, okay, we actually addressed this earlier today on my masterclass, and it was so funny because I do believe that we're all, like, people that are in this kind of work, we're kind of all moving through this together. So let me kind of frame a couple things. One is that we are in a time of massive destruction and rebuilding, okay? Like universally at a level of consciousness. And what that means is, like, when you look around at the world, like, you know, you can see it that it's a state of chaos, or you can also see it that, you know, how everything works is that things that no longer serve us need to break down in order to rebuild. We call it the breakdown versus the before the breakthrough. AA says, you know, you have to hit rock bottom. Well, consider this humanity's rock bottom in this moment. And when we're in rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. And people really need to understand, actually, let me just throw my lights on a little bit more so you can see me better. And tell me if that's better, because I'm seeing a shadow. Is that better? Okay. So people need to understand something, which is that when I talk about universal laws, right? Like reminding you, like, we're going to always bring in universal laws. One of the biggest principles about the universal laws is the biggest overarching principle is that energy just is. Okay, everything is energy in the world, in the universe, and energy just is, meaning energy is not bad or good. Okay, energy just is. And our ability to think and reason, and our ego and all those things in a human being's perception and mind is what creates something being bad or good, okay? And the other thing about that, so energy just is, that's a universal truth. Like an axiom of truth is a universal truth, like the law of gravity. I'm always gonna relate it back to the law of gravity, because you don't have to be a physicist to figure out gravity, in that you're not flying off your chair. And so you know that there are certain laws that we live by. One of those is that really important to understand that energy just is. And everything is energy. We are all energy. And so even when you look at the atrocities going on in the world, it just is. And it's the human mind, and especially the ego, that coins it bad or good or wrong or right. And it doesn't mean it's good. It just is. And so energy flows as a wavelength. Everything in energy flows as a wavelength. Okay? Everything in the universe is a wavelength. When you even think about, like, everything has an, when we say what goes up must come down. So this is like the inverted U in statistics, Yerkes-Dodson's law. This is the contractions in labor. It's basically called the law of rhythm. Everything follows this cycle. Break down, break through. Break down, break through. And you can think of anything and you can literally plot it into this. Why this is relevant? Human emotion also does that. You're high, you're low. You're high, you're low. You're high, you're low. Okay? So the law of rhythm, so the universal law that energy is just that energy is neutral. It just is. It also flows in a wavelength. Everything in the universe is a wavelength. This is called the law of rhythm. Break down, break through. Everything. Human emotion follows that same rule. So why is this relevant to your question? It's a long-winded answer, but there's always a point. People are addicted to not feeling bad. Oh no, I'm doing this work and now I'm feeling bad. Amazing. You need to feel bad in order to feel good. Like, why are we always preserving ourselves for not feeling things? This is what causes the problem in the first place, everyone. When you repress and suppress your emotions, which is what happened when you had a certain level of trauma in your life. And let me redefine what trauma means for the 18th time today. Trauma doesn't always mean sexual abuse or violence. Trauma as a child could be your parents didn't give you enough attention and affection, or you felt abandoned because your mom went to work all the time. Trauma doesn't necessarily mean you were hit, and it can mean you were, but trauma means as a child, you interpret a separation between you and your parents, and you and your inner child basically shuts down. And you spend your entire life feeling abandoned and scared. And so my point in saying that is, and then we repress all these things in our entire life, and then we wonder why we have anxiety and depression and all sorts of other addictions, because we have repressed and suppressed emotions. So one of the things I actually really invite people to do is feel your feelings fully. You've heard me take you through the 4-step process in my meditation process. That step 2 is about allowing yourself to feel what you feel. Maybe today you feel really yucky because you figured out something about your life and you don't like it. Well, wonderful. Be with that for a bit, because energy is always moving. Emotions are also never static. So if right now you're feeling kind of not great, well, if you allow yourself to sit with it, you'll come back up, and then something else will happen and you'll go back down. So I say this because you have to understand that when you're doing the deeper work, it's not for the faint of heart. It can be very confronting. But wherever there's confronting, wherever you feel resistance, or wherever you feel that dip, you have to know that as you move through it, you're going to go back up again. So I think our inability to be with what is actually what has people get like, oh, I have these limiting beliefs, like now I'm sad about it. No, if the reframe is we all have limiting beliefs, because and I'll go into that again, our subconscious mind was the only part of our mind when we were children. And so we took on the beliefs and ideologies of the people around us, specifically our mom and dad. And so if you can just understand it for what it is, and not attach it to there's something wrong with me, we all have limiting beliefs. It's about what do you do to move past them, to move through them, to heal them. The question is, how do we heal them, not whether or not we have them. We all have them. Does that make sense?
Totally, yes. And I guess then the next question is, how do you begin to heal them?
Yeah. Well, so how do you begin to heal them? I love how you put in the begin. Well, I guess that's part of this series. That's part of the work too. And I want to say this as a caveat, because I actually feel like it's the responsible thing to say. And I said it earlier today, which is people are in that same way that people are trying not to feel bad. So think about that for a second. Think about how much of your life, even for you, Kiki, you spent avoiding feeling bad. We all do it. we avoid feeling bad. So as a result, we're always pleasure-seeking beings. Like, what's the next quick thing and next step and next diet, next fad, next self-improvement book I can read, okay? And what I want to say here is that this is a real process. Like, this takes time. And I said it to the group earlier today, like, and there's probably some women on the group that were there, that I said, this is a lifelong journey. Beginning to heal these imprints and these wounds and these limiting beliefs is a forever until you no longer have a pulse journey, you know? And so it's kind of like I said, you have to sort of accept that and actually get really comfortable as being someone who's so interested in becoming the highest version of themselves. So for me, how I look at it is not, oh, I have to heal all this stuff. Like, well, of course we always do, but more, oh, this is helping me become the highest expression of myself. This letting go of this helps me become higher. So let me explain why that is. There's something called the law of sacrifice. And the law of sacrifice is a subsidiary law to, some of the other bigger laws. So the law of sacrifice says that in order to get to in order to achieve something of a higher nature, you have to let go of something of a lower nature. So in order to achieve something of a higher nature, you have to let go of something of a lower nature. Well, what does that mean energetically? Your imprints and limiting beliefs, or however you want to relate to them, they're all interchangeable. They're of a lower vibration nature. They hold you back. Because if you think that you're not good enough, you don't fulfill on your highest version of yourself. You settle. So in order to achieve your highest version of yourself, you have to let go of things that no longer serve you. Now, that can be people, that can be places, that can be things, that can be ideas, that can be beliefs, that can be values. You know, I think this work is all about, the more I do this work, the more I realize it's all about what can I continuously let go of. Like, it's always this idea of surrender and letting go more. And every time I think I've let go, it's like, what can I let go of again? You know, and you'll let go of something and it'll creep back in again. So for me right now, what I'm really working through is attachment to things being a certain way. Like, you know, we're all, like, for me, and I think for a lot of people, our suffering is in our inability to be with what is. Like, we're very attached to things being a certain way. Like, even if, like, I'll give you a ridiculous example, but maybe you were attached to, I'll give you an example. So this coming weekend on Saturday, I was supposed to be getting married. So prior to COVID, our wedding date was on Saturday, okay? Now, if I didn't do this work, and most people are like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm like, I'm totally fine. The universe has other plans for us. And I'm being serious. Like, was I disappointed 3 months ago? A little bit, but I really got that, like, my ability to continuously let go of attachment of what I think should happen and be with what is the road to transformation and transcendence. Because suffering is, I need things to be this way. I need things to be that way. They said that the stores would open on Tuesday and now it's Wednesday. Now I'm pissed off. And we're constantly in reaction. Our inability to be with what is our greatest suffering. So to answer your question, how do we start to heal? Well, you cannot heal what you don't know you need to heal. So to answer that question, you need to have awareness. You need to have awareness. You need to be able to say, what I mean by that is, if it's a blind spot, if you don't know that you're carrying a certain pattern or limiting belief or idea about the world, like we talked about earlier today in the group, like, you know, this idea that the world's not safe or I'm not safe is a very prominent imprint from childhood for people, because everything about our childhood was about being safe. And if you felt abandoned by your parents, or if something happened to you as a kid and you lived in the world like, I'm not safe, you're constantly scanning for danger. You're constantly looking at the news. You're constantly looking at what's going on in the world. You're constantly feeling like in a fight or flight reaction. So you need to bring that out of your blind spot. That has to become awareness. So let me describe awareness for a second. So awareness this is a great example, actually. So if you throw a baby into water, like a pool, their instinct would be to drown. okay, they are not aware that they actually have something called buoyancy. It's no different than riding a bike. Everybody can ride a bike. Everybody can walk unless you have a physical abnormality. Everybody knows how to be buoyant. But until you're aware that you're able to do that, you don't think you can do it. It's a blind spot. So awareness is just actually literally being like, oh, I know how to swim. Awareness is also, oh, I know how to ride a bike. And if I learned how to ride a bike and I never rode a bike for 20 years, you get back on that bike and know how to do it. It's like it's built into you. It's called awareness, is like something that's intrinsically part of you that you just don't know you have. And when you discover that, you become aware of it, which is very different than learning something. Awareness is like intrinsically a biological thing that you have. So in that same way, with this kind of healing work, you need to bring things into your awareness. You need to actually do that uncomfortable digging to say, what are my limiting beliefs? Why do I keep perpetually repeating the same thing in my life over and over and over again? If you're repeating something on replay, like results in your life, it's because you have a subconscious program about that. So I'm going to say that again. Your results are a direct correlation to your subconscious program. Your results are not your results have nothing to do with, like, people think like, oh, you know, if I think positively, I'll get good results. That's about 1/10 true. That's about 1/10 true. You don't think about this. If everything you thought about became a result, can you imagine? It would be ridiculous. So that's not how manifestation works. Your results are actually driven first by your subconscious program. For example, if you think about the world that there is not enough to go around, like let's say you grew up in a family where you heard there wasn't enough money or not enough time, you have this belief system called there's not enough. And if you have a belief system called there's not enough, you're likely broke or in debt. Now you can think positive all you want, but if you don't link up, if you don't first start to shift the subconscious program, what's going to happen? You'll think positively for a few hours and then you'll go back to what you know. Because your subconscious is where all of your programs, all of your imprints, all of your hardwiring is programmed. It's a pattern. It's a network of patterns.
We should probably get to Paulette's question. So I'll read it out and give you a moment. So if our inner child shuts down due to a feeling unsafe or not protected before the age of 7, does that stunt the growth of our conscious mind or something like that? What are the consequences of that? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a great question, Paulette, because she was in my earlier class. So that's so we're not fully there yet in this class, because I don't want to go too fast here about the inner child stuff. But know this, that the subconscious mind. So did we talk about this last time, Kiki, where it tells the conscious mind how to think? I think we started to talk about, yeah.
Then again, I've attended quite a few of your masterclasses.
Yeah. Okay. So let me kind of go back there for a second.
Might as well.
You saw me draw Mr. Stick Figure, I'm sure, if you've met me by now. Yeah, so this is actually a really representative model by Dr. Thurman Fleet in the 1930s. And it's a really easy to understand illustration of how the conscious and subconscious mind work. So over here, you've got your conscious mind. Here you have your subconscious mind. And here you have your body. What's really important to understand here is that your mind is not your brain. People think the mind is the brain. The brain is the brain. It's where you think. But the mind is not the brain. The mind is a combination of the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the body. Which is why your mind is also in your body, which is why emotions can be stored in the body, which is why in the work that I do, things get released in the body. Because when you had any trauma in childhood, it got lodged in a certain aspect of both your subconscious mind and your body, because you experience the world through your body. You don't experience the world just through your mind. You are a human being that goes through the world. So what's important to understand about this, as it relates to Paulette's question, is your subconscious mind is where all the information about you has ever been stored. It has about, I think, 90,000 bits of information. So by the way, from inception, when you were in your mom's womb. So there's so much research around like in the inner child space that I do, like that even like your mom's stress levels during pregnancy impact your mind. Like, you know, if there was drugs and alcohol used when you were in utero, like, so from inception all the way, like this carries all, it's the powerhouse. It's called your power center. It's kind of like a computer hard drive. The conscious mind is your thinking mind. It's where you think and reason and have the ability to accept and reject information. You have the ability to problem solve. That's your thinking mind. That's your conscious mind. If your subconscious mind holds about 90,000 bits of information, your conscious mind holds about 1,500 bits of information at any given moment. So think about that. You're only ever aware of such a limited amount of, it's kind of like, you know, those horses that wear those things. That's a perfect analogy. They only see this. This is a whole blind spot. They do that because they want to stay focused. You have to actually think about it. You walk around like this. You have this whole area as a blind spot because you're just like here, consciously. What's important to understand is that your subconscious mind is your power center, and it tells you how to think. It tells you how to think. What I mean by that is you're either, if you think about how you think about the world or how you think about life or how you think about anything, it's pretty the same all the time. Like no matter what's going on. For example, if you're a worrier, you're going to worry. If you're an optimist, or if you're a pessimist, or if you're a worst case scenario thinker, or if you're anxious, or if you're kind of negative, or that's how you think. So your subconscious mind tells you how to think about what you see, because the conscious mind sees things from the outside world. So these are your results. And you have this ability to see. And so you see the results, and so that becomes what you see in your conscious mind. So maybe you see debt, or maybe you see a certain relationship with your body, or maybe you see 10 pounds extra on the scale, or maybe you see whatever. Your subconscious mind tells you how to think about what you see.
And so may I ask, is the goal then to work with how you, like, let's say the example of, oh, I'm a worrier. So is the goal then to be like, okay, knowing that I'm a worrier, I'm going to address life in a certain way? Or is the goal to change and not be a worrier? Another warrior. Like, you can be a warrior. That would be great. But do you know what I mean? Like, can you change? Is it best to sort of work with how your subconscious is sort of like designed based on like how the universe made you? Or is it a matter of you can change your subconscious and how it works?
Yeah. So that's actually a great question. The universe didn't make you a worrier. The universe made you whole, perfect, and complete. You became a worrier because 0 to 7, you took in everything from outside of you around what your parents were saying. So your beliefs and imprints are in your subconscious mind. They are not the truth of who you are. You're not a worrier. Worrier is not something that someone is born as. It's a belief and a habit they become, and it's stored here. So to answer your question, it's about actually saying, does being a worrier serve me and create the result I want? Yes or no? It's all based on results. Like if you're not on this, people aren't doing, if we're honest with ourselves, people don't do this work if their life is perfect for them, do they? No. So you have to come to terms with there's something in your life that's not working for you in the best way that you want. So you have to look at my subconscious program, like literally like a computer program, has me think about me a worrier. It has me think that there's not enough in the world, or I'm not safe, or whatever those beliefs are. And it filters how we see, like what we see. It filters how we think about what we see. So what I mean by that is you and I, Kiki, based on our different belief systems, if I see, for example, let's say I see debt, or let's say I have credit card debt, but I'm an entrepreneur, and because I don't have a belief that there's not enough, or maybe I've worked through that belief, I look at debt and I say, well, that's what you need to do as an entrepreneur. Debt's actually really good. It's the only way to grow a business. You might see debt if you have a money story or not enough story and go, oh my God, like I'm going to be broke. I'm never going to survive this. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. I'm not. We both see debt, but you see it from the lens of, oh my God, I'm a failure. And I see it like, that's what it takes to grow a business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And so what if you then have, you know, these areas, this area of resistance, and you can see it, you can see that like, this is clearly a limiting belief. I don't want it. I want to shift it, but you know, it's for whatever reason, like I can't like willpower out of it. And, you know, like speaking to practitioners, you know, whether it's about not getting enough clients or having fear around fulfillment around clients, or, you know, just that's one that I hear a lot in terms of, you know, oh, I can't attract. And I know that I'm probably blocking the, like the fact
Yes,
that I can't
totally.
but how can I stop blocking them?
Yeah, it's such a great story. And I think that's a great thing for us to note for the next call as well. We'll start to talk about how to bring this into the manifestation formula that I teach. But let's start with this. You cannot willpower your way through this work. It's kind of what I said before. There isn't like this quick fix 7-step strategy to da-da-da-da. It's actually impossible to do that. If someone's trying to sell you like quick tips to reprogram the brain, it's a gimmick. As a neuroscientist, like someone who studies neuroscience like 20 years, I can tell you that's why most people don't really change their habits and patterns. That's why you see more people than not stuck in the same paradigm, or losing 10 and gaining 10, or gaining 10 and losing 20, or doing the protocol and not doing the, like, that's why you see that, because it takes 2 things to reprogram the mind. Number 1, constant spaced repetition, which is exactly like what I teach, like part of my framework. Constant spaced repetition to reprogram the mind. And number 2, a sudden emotional impact. So if you think you're gonna like do this for a week and then like, oh, I don't know what, you know, and then, oh, like willpower through it, that it's kind of like, that's like saying I'm going to go eat burgers and fries to have like better vitamin D. Like those 2 things are not causal or correlated. So you need to understand that your subconscious mind works like any other aspect of the body. Your liver needs certain nutrients. Your brain and subconscious mind needs certain things too. So repetition over time, constant spaced repetition, which is teaching, like going through a certain meditation process, like understanding how to use affirmations, etc. All these different modalities I teach in a scientific way, plus a heightened emotional state, or like, this is why trauma, especially if someone went through any kind of like tragedy in their life, or trauma, and trauma could be childbirth, that can also have a massive shift on your subconscious mind. So I teach people how to couple constant spaced repetition with a higher emotional, sudden emotional impact from a positive place, not from a negative place. Does that make sense? So yeah, which is a process and a whole other framework, and for another time, like that's not something you can kind of, again, like 7 hacks to do that, but it's actually just the awareness that if I really want to change my subconscious programming, that's going to be like repetition over time, like no different than brushing your teeth every day.
Yeah, totally.
So, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And so I think that I gained a lot out of that. And I think it's a really helpful reality check to actually say the truth, in that like this is a process and it takes a lot of time, knowing that for next month we can dive into a little bit more of that manifestation piece.
Yeah, and I want to start on that too today, but go ahead. Yeah,
perfect. And so after you start on that, maybe you could also give us like a little piece of homework or something to think about in this next month, so that we can come to the next workshop like kind of ready to dive into what we might want to dissect for ourselves.
Totally. Yeah. So let me talk about the manifestation process for a quick sec. And there was something you said that triggered me. I'm just trying to think about that. And I'm just trying to remember what you said about.
I use the example of like blocking clients.
Yeah. Okay. So that's exactly what it was. So, okay, I love this. I'm such a stickler for language. Like, no, this is kind of what is wrong with the personal development space. And I'm going to say it because I have been in it for a long time, and there's some really incredible people in it, and there's some people that don't actually know what they're talking about. So, and it actually gives the industry a little bit of a bad rap. So there is no such thing called you're blocking clients. There's also no such thing saying you're out of alignment. Like, you're always in alignment. Like, you're in the universe. Like, the universe is aligned. Okay, it's not like you're, like, people have, because they hear it, or I'm blocking clients. So you're not blocking clients. What's happening is that you're trying to manifest. What you're doing is you're not using the manifestation process in the right way. What does that mean? So if you have, and if this is a blind spot for most people, because unless they do this work, it's a blind spot. And we all have, by the way, about 8 to 10 core imprints and core wounds. So you might be aware of 2 of them, but you've got a lot that are running the show. So if you are experiencing, and I say the word experience because it's based on the law of polarity, which is that if you're experiencing lack, like if you're experiencing not enough clients, or not enough money, or not enough, wealth, or not enough abundance, or anything like that, we'll talk about, because it's all the manifestations, most about money or abundance. If you're experiencing not enough, what the law of polarity tells us is that everything in life was created as a whole, equal and opposite, and everything has an equal and opposite, and that if you're experiencing lack, abundance must also be present at the same place and time. This is really important. It's like I could do a whole lesson on just this. So think about that. Everything in life is created as a whole. Up, down, black, white. This marker has both a left and a right side, equal and opposite, and they're attached. But what happens, because we have the ability to perceive, and we have a mind, a brain, and we have the ego part of the brain, you're just perceiving lack. You just don't see abundance. So if you're experiencing lack, it means you're just not aware of abundance. You're not perceiving the whole, which is that everything in life was created as with an equal and opposite. And that everything is present in the same place and time. Like, everything you need for financial freedom and abundance is actually all around you. You're just not perceiving the abundance side because you have an imprint called I'm not enough, or there isn't enough, or you have a belief about that. And you're experiencing debt, lack, not enough clients. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So this is called the law of polarity. It's one of the most important laws. The law of polarity is that everything in life was created as a whole, and everything has an equal and opposite, and it's attached. So how you want to think about that, this is very important. If you're experiencing a problem in your life, like, think about any problem that you have right now. The solution to the problem must also be present in the same space and time by the law of polarity. You're just looking at the problem, not the solution. So why most people don't know how to manifest is because they don't fucking understand how to manifest. They don't understand the formula. They're looking at the problem, they're fixating on the lack, and then they're trying to manifest from lack. You can't do that. It's mathematically not possible to manifest from lack. So I'll go into teaching more about that for sure next time too, but you got to get that if you're experiencing lack and then you're trying to take action from lack, you're producing more lack. So you have to start to see that everything was created as a whole. Everything was created as a whole. And it's actually like, if you draw it like a pole, like over here is wealth. I'm just using money because I'm sure everybody would be interested in learning how to make more, especially if you want more clients. And then over here let's call it poverty, which is the opposite extreme. The universal truth is abundance. The truth of the universe is abundance. But the human mind has you see in fractions and fragments. That's what the human mind. So you're basically like, you're wherever you are is that you're just kind of wherever you are on the scale. So if you're over here by the law of polarity, you're just not experiencing abundance. You're basically on this side of the law of polarity. You're focusing on what you're not experiencing, as opposed to understanding that you can move yourself towards that wherever you want to be if you understand that actually everything was created as a whole abundantly, and you're just not focusing on the solution, you're focusing on the problem. You're coming from the imprint. So you can't manifest from the imprint. You can't manifest from, oh no, I have to call all these clients to book them in because I need money because I can't pay my bills. And by the way, I've done it that way before. I learned, like, I used to do it exclusively that way. You could get some results, but it's not abundance. So abundance is actually, it starts with tuning yourself into the universal truth that, first of all, abundance is the universal truth, just like the universal truth is only love exists, fear is just a fragment of the mind. And that if you're experiencing poverty, it's because this is a blind spot to you. You're just, in the law of polarity, everything exists as equal and opposite, and it's attached. So if you're experiencing debt, then the solution to the debt has to also be here. Because you don't see like half a giraffe walking around the street. That's how you have to think of the law of polarity. Like, you don't see half of anything, which means everything was a whole. Meaning that if you're experiencing if you're experiencing debt, then prosperity must also be there. The solution to that debt must be there. And that could come as a person, an opportunity, a place, a thing. You just have to then shift your attention and awareness to where might the opportunity be. That's a different question. Where might the opportunity be? That puts you in a higher vibration state. It's a higher vibration question. When you go into a higher vibration question, you shift your level of awareness to see what's possible at that level of vibration versus what's wrong with me that I'm still broke. Where are the possible opportunities?
Perfect. Yeah, I was gonna say, what's a good way to then prime the brain so that you can, get those opportunities? But it sounds like just asking those sorts of questions, just asking where is the opportunity versus why isn't the opportunity happening?
Exactly. Asking a different question. Actually, I would say one of the most important things that I would teach people is you're not asking the right questions. People don't ask the right, why me is not the right question. Or why am I broke is not the right question. Where are the opportunities to fulfill on dealing with this issue? Think about that, just even energetically in your body. Think about the shift that you feel when you versus saying, why am I still broke versus where might the opportunities be? It's a different vibration. And it has you go, oh, you know what? I haven't spoken to Susie in a while, and she mentioned, let me reach out to Susie.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
It's also very empowering because I think in this field, even with self-development work, you can sometimes feel like you just need to unpack every issue and just like go down this hole of like, but it's almost like, change is a choice, and it's just a matter of like flipping the perspective. And so I feel so like lifted up just from this conversation.
Thank you. And you said something that I'm going to leave you with, and I'm going to give you homework because I think that's a great idea. You said the word choice, and I actually think that is the most important thing we can leave off with. Not only is change as a choice, but your conscious mind, as a human being, we are the only creatures on the planet that we know of that has the ability to choose. Animals don't have the ability to choose. They're just reactive. They're in their fight, flight, or freeze. We have the ability, our greatest superpower is our ability to choose our thoughts, to choose our narratives, to choose what we focus on, what we don't focus on, who we listen to, who we don't listen to. Our ability to choose is our greatest superpower, but it's our most unutilized power. We don't use it well. We just are reactive, or we just allow everything to come in. And we believe that we're victims. No, you are responsible. You have to take responsibility for your life and choose. So yes, you can choose to that point. What questions you ask? Does that question make me feel empowered or disempowered? Why me versus like, what's there for me to experience here? I ask them for myself when I'm dealing with something very challenging in my life. Like, I actually go right to what is there for me to experience and learn from this versus why me, or things are being done to me. What is there for me to experience and see here? That opens up a whole other level. What can I learn? Okay, how can I fulfill them? What are the solutions? What are the opportunities? How can I look at this differently? What's a different way to see the same situation? That's all reframing. And reframing puts you in, again, a problem-solving, higher vibration state that lifts your level of awareness and brings something new into your, it's like the law of polarity. It's like you start to become aware of the abundance. You start to become aware of, wow, there's actually 17 people in my life I know right now that could help me with this project. So it's those little micro shifts that are so important from the level of mindset. And I think like what we're going to start to develop through this process here together is what I call developing a skilled mind. You know, a skilled mind, a resourceful mind, as opposed to being in unresourceful states all the time of feeling guilt and shame and like victims. How do we actually start to take personal responsibility and agency in our life to feel empowered, to choose, and to be cause in the matter of our own life? Because we are the cause of our life. So that's, I think, a really good place to kind of to end today in terms of the ability to choose. And I think some homework we can start to think about like when we move in next to think about looking at manifestation and really putting some goals together. Like, I want you to actually think about coming into next session. What is it that you truly desire right now? I'm going to actually have you answer 5 questions for homework. These 5 questions, I think, can change your life and get you very clear on what you want. And my invitation is that you only work on one thing that you really want at a time. So like, don't be like, well, I want 17 things. Like, what is one thing you really want right now? Like, you know, maybe you want to get 20 new clients by the end of September. Be specific. Or you want to have $40,000 in your bank account to pay off a loan, or, you know, or you want to start a bit, like whatever that one thing you really want. Okay. It has to be specific. Not like, I want inner peace. That's not a goal. Okay. That's an outcome. That's a result of something else. People are like, I want freedom and inner peace. It's like, that's not a thing. Like, you can't, that's not measurable. Okay. So the first question is, what is it that you truly desire? What do you truly want? I use the word want and desire interchangeably. So what do you truly want? And this is actually important that you're very honest with yourself. What do I really want? That, a little hint to that is, because these are simple questions, but there's always an underlying thing. It's like, what's in your secret thoughts to yourself? Like, not maybe the stuff that you don't really share because you don't think you could have it. Not what you think other people think you should want. That's not the work. What do you really want? And you'll surprise yourself. Like, maybe it's not what you think you want, or maybe you'll start this process thinking, oh, I really wanted this, but then it'll shift. Okay. So what do you really want right now? Right now. And it doesn't have to be in 20 years from now, just like right now. Question 2, why do I really want this? Why do I really want this? This is an important question because the why is linked to your emotional mind, which is your subconscious mind. Like, you have to think about why you want it. And it has to be linked, like, you have to think about it. You want what you want because of how you think it's going to make you feel. You want what you want because of how you think it's going to make you feel. So I give this example, like, if maybe you want a red Ferrari, okay? And I would say, why do you want that? And when you really get down to it, people want that because they want approval, or they want freedom, or they want recognition, or they want to feel loved, or they want to feel appreciated, when they feel valued. Why do you want what you want? Go deeper, not, oh, I want it because I have to fulfill a quota. That's not why you want it. Go deeper. Ask yourself, really, why do you want it? Okay, good. Question 3. What obstacles could get in the way of you achieving what you want? So what are the possible obstacles that could get in the way of you achieving what you want? And with this question, you want to look at some of the obstacles being the obstacles in your own limiting beliefs, not like COVID. COVID's not an obstacle, okay? COVID is actually an opportunity, if we're being honest. Like, I think a lot of opportunity for healthcare practitioners. There's a ton of opportunity in the healthcare space. There's so much opportunity right now. It's actually crazy. So don't be like COVID's an obstacle, because that's a limiting belief. The obstacles are in your own mindset. Okay, that's where you want to look. Question 4 is, how would you feel if you didn't achieve what you truly desire? How would you feel if you didn't achieve what you truly desire? And question 5 is, are you willing to do whatever it takes to achieve your desire? This is a very important question to answer, because if you're not willing to do what it takes, then that's a choice, and you have to realize that you're either moving towards what you want or what you don't want. So then the question becomes, are you willing to deal with the consequences of not doing what it takes? Does that make sense? So those are your 5 questions. So what do you want? Why do you want it? What are the obstacles? How will you feel if you don't get it? And then, are you willing to do what it takes? Answer those 5 questions coming into the next session, and that'll get really clear on your desire, and we'll talk more about desire and manifestation and all that beautiful stuff, because it'd be really cool for you guys through this series to actually start to manifest what you desire.
Oh my God, totally. And it's nice because they're spaced out enough that like it'll be really interesting to hear everyone, all of the epic things that we manifest. So
if I would have scripted this, you wouldn't have done it like this.
I am so happy. Thank you so much for being so flexible.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you next month. Can't wait.
Next month, everyone. Okay, bye. Thanks, guys.